Hi, I'm Marty Levinson, and I'm very good with scissors.
Hi, I'm Marty Levinson, and welcome to the Northtown News Magazine.
Hi, I'm Marty Levinson, and welcome to the Northtown News Magazine.
Come on, baby, don't you wanna go? Come on, baby, don't you wanna go? Back to that lemon light city, sweet home Chicago.
Hi, I'm Marty Levinson. Welcome to the Northtown News Magazine show with the greatest cameraman around, Sonny Hirsch, and your host, Avi Myers.
Thank you, Marty. Avi Myers, Northtown Neighborhood News Magazine, a presentation of Sonny Hirsch and myself. Dial us up on the web at ntnm.org. Well over 300,000 shows have been watched, and the numbers keep climbing at a beautiful rate. Thank you so much for watching. Community Policing Caps24.org. Lots of interesting things going on in the 24th District, not all of them good, but the fact of the matter is overall crime is down. But you know what? If you want to stay up with what's happening in your community, you should be attending the CAPS meetings. And we'd like to welcome our new commander, Roberto Nieves, who is impressing a lot of people in the very short time he's been here. And speaking of impressing people, as his earlier email from about an hour and a half ago today indicated, he's an advocate for us all. I hope that doesn't include genocidal people. Somebody who actually is universally liked among both Democrats and Republicans, somebody who actually has an intelligent view of politics and votes his conscience a lot more often than just about anybody else, and especially on the county board, even though there's a few good ones there. 13th District Commissioner Larry Suffredin. How you doing?
Avi, thank you. Thanks for having me.
First of all, my pleasure, and thank you so much for being here. And of course, I would like to say you put off your procedure in order to be here today, but you put off your procedure for a very important vote that happened in the county.
Yesterday was the 15th of July, and we had the vote on the increase of the sales tax, which is kind of one of the stranger things because President Preckwinkle was elected to repeal the 1% sales tax, and then we did that, and then she now wants to reimpose it. So it was like deja vu all over again yesterday, and unfortunately, I was on the losing side. The vote was 9-7, and you needed 9 votes to impose the sales tax. But I'm very concerned it will have a detrimental effect, especially on Devon Avenue and in neighborhoods like we are here at Rogers Park.
It will. There's no question, because people are going to jump the border. I mean, people are already jumping the border, but this is an extra incentive beyond belief. And I would like to point out that the 3 Northside commissioners closest to me, both you, Bridget Gaynor, and John Pritchie, all were Democrats that voted no, and I congratulate the other two.
Along with Richard Boykin from the West Side, who's been a great new member of the board. We were the 4 Democrats who were opposed to this. Yeah.
Now, you try to attach a writer to the bill. I do read all the stories.
Yes.
And I liked it. I actually heard it discussed last night on Chicago Tonight Week in Review.
Okay.
So, but I also do read the Tribune articles and the Sun-Times articles. So you try, because basically pensions has been a very large problem in Cook County, and the sales tax would generate $470 million in revenue. And, it's your bill. You tell us what you...
Well, this is a huge tax increase. It is $474 million annually. And the president said that this was necessary to deal with our pension issue, though she wasn't putting $474 million into the pension. And so I had an amendment which she became very opposed to say, put all this money into the pensions, and then we won't have a pension problem. But one of the interesting things is during the budget last November, I had a number of amendments to increase our payments to the pension to try to solve this problem in an incremental way, and she worked against me on every one of them. And I had a legal opinion from the Cook County State's Attorney, who by the Illinois Constitution is our lawyer on the board, that said we could put additional payments in, and we have on one occasion since I've been on the board. But the president went out and hired a private lawyer to give her an opinion saying you can't put extra money in. So the issue yesterday was, well, wait a minute. If we're going to have all this extra money, how do you put it into the pension if it's illegal? And she said, oh, we'll work on that in the future, but it is a legal issue. And what they were talking about doing is taking this money that was going to be put aside for the pensions, put it into an escrow account where it would earn passbook interest, instead of giving it to the pension fund where they invested and it geometrically should grow if the process is working. So there were a lot of issues yesterday. As I said, good intentions and good purpose do not beat out bad tax policy. And a sales tax is regressive. A sales tax puts real pressure on those who are at the lower end of the economic structure, because in their communities they don't have access to the discount stores and the big box stores, the Targets and Costco's that we do. They end up shopping and buying the same item that we might get at a Walgreens for a few dollars more at whatever the comparable stores they have. And since it's a percentage of the sale price that you pay the tax, they pay more for tax for similar items. So I'm disappointed. January 1st it becomes effective. It also puts the Cook County area into 10.25% tax. And if you're downtown in the McCormick Place structure area, it's 11.25%. That's
Wow.
the highest sales tax in the nation, highest in the nation. And people were trying to downplay that, but it has an impact. We've got a robust convention industry going in Chicago right now, but if you, as part of your convention, have banquets and other things that are going to be significant, and let's say you're going to have $150,000 or $200,000 in extra things you buy for your convention, if 11.25% is the tax, that's a huge amount of extra
It's
money
crazy.
you need to walk around. So we went through this once before. Yesterday we had 3 people I invited to come and testify. One was Scott Price, a really wonderful young man who's the president of Tom Price Furniture. They have a store in Old Orchard, and it's an old family business. And he talked about what in 2008, when we raised the Todd Stroger tax, what effect it had on his business and the people he had to lay off and the reduction, and nearly left Old Orchard. The second person I invited was a fellow named Peter Hanig. If you're a WFMT listener, Hanig Shoes.
I've seen the ads, or heard the
they
ads.
are one of the main sponsors. He has a store on Michigan Avenue, a store in Lincoln Park, and a store in Wilmette. And he was talking about how difficult it is to be in the shoe business today, that people come in to see the shoe, try it on, but then they go and order it online or not pay the tax or go out of the county to someplace else. But they know what shoe they want, and they know how to get it. And the third person I brought in was a fascinating guy named Bernie Garvey. And Garvey's family for 84 years has had the Garvey Stationery Company. They're now in Niles, and you see their trucks all over.
Yeah, that's a big place.
Yeah, their trucks are all over the place delivering office supplies.
They're also a giant printer. They do a lot of...
They may. I don't know. I know they sell.
Having been in the business, I'll tell you they are.
Yeah. So, and he talked about how difficult it is competing with people who have their headquarters in Wisconsin, who come and say, "Well, I'll be 10% less than Garvey because Wisconsin doesn't have a tax on this transaction."
Wow.
So, it's unfortunate. It's there. I hope that your listeners who would be opposed to this continue to talk to President Preckwinkle and the other commissioners who voted for it. It doesn't take effect till January 1. I'm hoping that we can maybe do something.
No, that would be terrific. And I would like to say that for those of you who do read Jewish Chicago, which I publish, I warned people when she was first running. She was, as nice as she can be, as independent as she was at one time, she was not the good government candidate. But that's me, not you.
Well, the other stuff going on, Avi, is the second installment of property taxes are out, and they're due on August 3rd. And I encourage people to make sure they have all the right exemptions. You can come into my office in Evanston or go to the assessor's office at the Skokie Courthouse or downtown at the county building, 118 North Clark. But you've got to pay your taxes, unfortunately. And while the county portion is the smallest of the governments on your tax bill, the Chicago Public Schools, the city of Chicago, or the suburban schools, who for our suburban listeners and viewers need you to pay your taxes. So August 3rd is the deadline, and but if you feel like your assessment and your exemptions aren't matching up the way you think they should, please come in our office and we'll see what we can do.
And by the way, I have actually been to your office, and everybody there was extremely helpful. And I do, thanks mostly to you, I do appeal my taxes. It does save me a couple $100 a year easy. and it's well worth it. I mean, I'd rather have the money in my pocket than, well, no offense to the county.
But to the economy of Illinois, we'd rather you spend that money, take Sonny out for a fine meal somewhere.
Yeah, Taboon.
Right.
So, no, absolutely, great restaurant. Sean's been there too.
One of the things I'd like to mention, this is kind of a sad note. Our former state rep for this area, Woods Bowman.
I knew him very well.
Yeah, was unfortunately killed in a traffic accident last Friday in Michigan. He and his wife were driving, and a truck driver got distracted and ran them over. A big truck ran over their car, and I just want to remember Woods Bowman as one of the great state representatives. You know, he had a PhD in economics. He had a degree in physics from MIT.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. Just an amazing individual who spent almost 20 years in Springfield, chair of the Appropriation Committee. And then in 1990, he modernized the finances of Cook County. When Dick Phelan became president, he became the chief financial officer. Told me the story of his first day at the county. There was one computer for the entire finance department. It was in the center of the room, and people stood in line to wait for their opportunity to use it. And primarily they used it for calculating because you weren't maintaining records. But he was a remarkable fellow. He went on to teach for almost 20 years at DePaul University and did municipal finance. And I want to remember his wife, Michelle, who was badly injured in the accident. Another remarkable person. She had been the secretary of the board of the University of Illinois Board of Trustees for many, many years. And just they were so delightful, and they both brought so much joy and so many positive things to our area. He's going to be really missed. And Michelle, I hope you get better really soon.
I agree, and I've known him since the 70s. He's when I was involved in independent politics in the 49th Ward in that particular
That's where he
area.
came out of. He was one of David Orr, all of you guys who overthrew the Hartigan machine in the 49th Ward.
But he was, I want to emphasize, despite all, like for instance, I did know about all the qualifications, except I didn't know the physics at MIT. That I didn't know. But he was such a humble, down-to-earth man. And he never lured it, even though this guy was obviously brilliant. And every time I ran into him, I made it a point to talk to him because there was always what to learn.
Well, and I'd like to remember one other person since I was last on your show who unfortunately left us, and that's David Fagus, the Democratic Committee of the 49th Ward.
Yeah, I really regret not ever having him on the show, and I wanted to do it.
Yeah. Well, last weekend, Joe Moore dedicated a street at Ravenswood and Greenleaf, which is where the 49th Ward Democratic office is located. So there's a street sign for David, and David was in his 50s and had a series of problems, but died. Was a remarkable guy and really loved Rogers Park and loved doing political things in Rogers Park. And the diversity of our community is something it's hard for people to really understand. I try to walk them down Devon Avenue, and in one block you can have 7 different ethnic restaurants, and you run into people from so many backgrounds that are all the American melting pot, and Rogers Park is just a unique area. And here were 2 people, Woods Bowman and David Fagus, who loved Rogers Park and devoted a lot of energy to making it a much better place from a political perspective.
Yeah, by the way, to your credit, even though I knew David Fagus and I did talk to him, but usually short conversations. You took us both to a Cub game together.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
And sitting and relaxing at Wrigley Field, we had a chance to really get to know each other, and I really liked him. And I do regret, because I know he wanted to come on the show. I always wanted to get him on the show, and I just never did it, and I'm sorry about it. But he was a really nice person, and very good-hearted, and he was involved in a number of local charities here also.
Well, your show is an amazing show, because I get when I'm on with you, I get phone calls from all around, because not only are you on in the Chicago cable, you're on in Evanston and Skokie and other places, and you have a viewership of people, and the eclectic mix of human beings who come here, sit here next to you, and discuss things is absolutely amazing. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to talk about the county and things we're doing in the county. I'd like to mention one final thing, because I know we're going to be running out of time shortly.
No, actually, we're fine for a bit.
Okay. In September, we're going
I know you're in a hurry, but we still have about 10 minutes.
Well, in September, we're going to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the Cook County Forest Preserve District. And we're going to have 100 events throughout the Forest Preserve system. As I've told you, we're very fortunate that we live near forest preserves. We have a small one in Evanston, and as you go a little farther west into Morton Grove and to Skokie, you have beautiful forest preserves, and they run all the way up the North Shore, all the way to the Botanic Garden, which is
and as a
part
matter
of
of
our
fact, you're very instrumental every other year for the Jewish Folk Arts Festival.
Exactly, which is in St. Paul Woods, which is a beautiful, beautiful place. And this is the non-Jewish folk arts year, so next year we'll have it.
Right.
We'll have it again. Michael Lorge, the Corporation Council of Skokie, is one of the driving forces of that. And
and has been since day one. I've been involved ever since the very second one. I actually had a booth for Jewish Chicago in the second one that was on the lakefront in Evanston.
Well, and I guess after that he decided that you and Sonny should walk around because if you're out there and it's about 112 degrees and Avi has got a microphone that weighs about 4 ounces, and Sonny is carrying this huge camera on his shoulder, and they wander around doing these interviews with people. But the forest preserves really are a unique place for all of us, and I really want to encourage people to get out and understand, go canoeing, go for a walk, go for a bike ride in our forest preserves, and look at the trees, the vegetation, the flowers, the things that are out there. There's a lot of terrific stuff there. And it really is it's a hidden jewel. You've always called it a hidden jewel. Yeah.
And it really is. It's so nice. You can actually get to nature without having to travel very far from the metropolitan area.
Well, when you fly into Manhattan, you go over Central Park from the airplane, and you look down and you see Central Park, and it's really impressive. When you fly into O'Hare, you see the Emerald Necklace, which is the forest preserve, and you see the density of the trees this time of year, and you go, oh my goodness, look at all of that open space protected from development so that we can understand where we came from. And it's all right here. And we have so many different groups that use the forest preserve, including the Holocaust Museum, which is in a building that's on the border of the forest preserve, but shares a parking lot with us. And I've learned a lot from different people and these organizations that are so close to the forest preserve. And, we're just very, very fortunate.
No, there's absolutely no question about it whatsoever. It's really a terrific thing, and I urge all of you to take advantage. And in some cases, if you want to have events, you might have to actually do a year in advance or almost.
Yeah, if you're going to have, like the Folk Art Festival, 35,000 people in one day, we do ask you to make plans.
Now, that would be a good idea. One thing I want to talk to you about, when I originally invited you, I had read, even though Greg Hines and I have had our run-ins, but that was when he was with Lerner, and you were wrong. I was never part of the 50th Ward organization, Greg. Shame on you. You were thinking with your own personal interests in mind at the time. You have probably improved some, not that I read you all the time, but there was an article in which you stated, and you congratulated me for reading Greg, as a matter of fact, but I actually caught the link on Facebook, to be honest, is that, the plan that was afoot for whatever, the plan that the county had in mind was actually something that was going to get turned back by the courts the same way that the state, the plan that Madigan adapted from Daniel Biss.
We're talking now pensions.
Right.
And
some drugs.
Yeah. Good response. Yeah.
As a matter of fact, well, whatever. We've got the 1 minute warning. So your final.
My 1 minute is to encourage you to go to the forest preserves, encourage you to pay your property taxes on time on August 3rd, and make sure you have all the right exemptions, and to enjoy the rest of the summer in a safe manner. We're very fortunate. We've got so many activities going on in the parks and things. So I hope that we'll run into you at various events and continue to watch Avi here on TV, and his YouTube counts go up, up, up.
And thanks to guests like Larry Suffredin, who, true gentleman very much. By the way, I almost was able, every time you're here, I always make sure I invite Amanda Vinicky, my favorite State House reporter, and she's actually got a wedding in Springfield this weekend. That's why she couldn't make it.
Well, and she is now the Chicago Tonight Springfield correspondent, and she appears on Chicago Tonight by Skype.
Right.
So it's very nice. I watch her, and she's really on top of it. She's a very
She
good
really
person.
is. She is so objective. You don't see any trace of prejudice. She is 100% objective in her
great
reporting,
reporter.
and I give
Great
her all the
reporter.
credit. If people would like to contact you real quick,
Our office is at 820 Davis in Evanston, downtown Evanston. Karen Chavers runs the office for me there, and the phone number, the email is suffredin.org, easy to remember, and you can look us up in the phone book. It's 847-864-1209. We look forward to serving you in any way that we can.
thank you, Larry. Thank you, Sonny. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
2902. We'll still get your Marty Levinsons, and I don't know about other people's, but yours.
Yeah. Very good. Sean, it's all yours.
All right.
I wish I could stay so I know which judges are going to win.
By the way,
Pensions are difficult things. The Illinois Constitution and the Supreme Court recently ruled are protected, they're guaranteed to the workers, and they should be, because for our workers, they're not in the Social Security system. They don't get Medicare automatically like other people who are in Social Security. So these pensions and changes to the pensions have to be done carefully. And the Supreme Court, in the opinion on the state pensions, kind of made it clear that these are protected rights, that there are ways to do things, but it's complex to do it. But the key thing is that government has, if government were a private employer, they'd be in jail because private employers cannot fund their pensions. They can't, or pay their Social Security payments. And starting a long time ago in the 70s, Illinois and government started doing what they called pension holidays, which makes you think you're on a beach somewhere. But in fact, what it is you just don't pay. And they go on for year after year after year after year of not paying you. You've taken the foundation of pensions that might have been funded on an actuarial basis at a fairly nice level, and you drive them down to a very dangerous level. So
when Rod Blagojevich took office, in fact, Illinois was funded 73%, which was too low at the time. And when he got out, it was more like 43 or 44%.
Well, and he did a lot of pension holidays and a number of other things. So I'm very conscious that our workers need to be protected, and in their retirement, they need to have a livable retirement for the service they've provided us, just as I hope that Social Security is a livable amount. I mean, these are not these huge pensions you read about. The majority of our people are getting average pensions that are around $35,000 a year. I mean, so it's not, a sum that you live high off the hog on. It's a sum that you can be reasonable if you're frugal and you do things. And I've taken as my issue making sure that anybody who wants to change pensions, that they'll do it in the right way. And so when the president put forth her proposal, which I felt clearly based upon a reading of the case law was not going to meet a constitutional test, I asked the state's attorney for an opinion, and that's what you're talking about. I got that opinion, and I shared it with everybody, and the president reacted, President Preckwinkle, that it was too political, and that's because she's right now running her chief of staff against Anita Alvarez for state's attorney. But I will say this about Anita Alvarez.
By the way, there's a third candidate also.
Oh, yes. I will say this about Anita Alvarez and her office. They're straight shooters.
Yep.
They gave me an opinion that had nothing to do with the politics. There are very good lawyers that she's hired. They're very good lawyers she's put in charge. And, I've gotten nothing but great service from the state's attorney's office.
No, I'm very happy. And as a matter of fact, they gave me the best Marty Levinson of all time. So.
Oh, well, that's good.
I mean, we got to place our priorities here.
I thought the best Marty Levinson of all time was Marty Levinson, but maybe I missed something.
Oh, no, no. She actually, for those of you who haven't seen it, when I was busy doing another interview, I saw Anita Alvarez walk in with Sally Daly Hunt and Mark Kirk in their publicity guy, and she was holding a 3-foot-long red-handled ceremonial scissors, and I knew exactly what was going to happen, and I had a hard time keeping a straight face while doing a serious interview. Yeah. No, and by the way, she was such a considerate and nice lady. She made sure that, and at this time we didn't have the Naugahyde thing on the table. She made sure that I had a little coaster here so that the scissors wouldn't put a dent in the table, which is actually maple underneath.
Your mother would be very happy, right?
No question about it. No question. That's a considerate thing. But no, that's no. But you know what? It's like I got the feeling the whole time with Madigan last year that he knew he knew very well, as better than anybody, that...
Well, he is the only member of CONCON, the Constitutional Convention, who is still serving in the legislature. So he is like, the oracle himself on the Constitution. So
yeah, so he definitely, and he's no dummy. I mean, this guy, people don't realize how sharp this guy is.
Well, he's very sharp, as is John Cullerton. I mean, what's going on now with Governor Rauner is this big chess game between the three of them. But, they're all very bright people. And exactly where this will end up, I don't know. As we sit here, Illinois doesn't have a budget, but we got a bunch of court orders that seem to keep services going. I went and got my license plate tag the other day, and the same number of people were in the Secretary of State's office who were there before we didn't have a budget. So I think most of us aren't seeing things. But if you're a disabled person, if you're a child with special needs, I'm sure that you're worried about, will these services be there? So let's only hope that our members of our General Assembly and the governor can come to some accommodation to get this state. It's a great state. We're the 5th largest state, and we need to be a strong state.
No, absolutely, and there's no reason we shouldn't be. And I've watched this state and the county, unfortunately, fall from grace to a certain extent over the years, and we need to pick ourselves back up and get to where we need to be.
Right.
So, no, there's an awful lot of good people, and there's an awful lot of good resources. And I hate seeing them flee. I do understand it, though. But, that's part of the thing when we're talking about the sales tax earlier. For people who don't live near a border, okay, my house is right near Evanston, within a mile of Evanston, Skokie, and Lincolnwood. Okay? Know where all the shopping is? Not in Chicago. Okay? The Jewel and the Target and the Best Buy are in Evanston. You've got the Lincolnwood Town Center with all kinds of good stores like Kohl's and many others. And, Mariano's just opened up, and Walmart opened up just
in Skokie,
and right outside the border. And unfortunately, the same is true as you go near the Cook County border.
Well, Lake Cook Road, which I represent, with the exception of Northbrook Court, which is on the Cook County side, all the new shopping centers are all on the Lake County side, because the differential is over 3%. On the sales tax.
No, it's gigantic. And not only that, but, if you look at the gas stations, you're not going to see a gas station on our side near that border, because they know they don't have a chance to compete with the cheaper gas prices and everything else that's going on.
Buying a gallon of milk is cheaper on the other side. Buying a loaf of bread is cheaper on there. All those things that people buy at gas stations and those little mini marts. Yeah, you may remember this. I was a lawyer at that point representing Evanston when former Alderman Bernie Stone decided to build the stone wall down Howard Street.
That was a very popular topic on the show.
He was very upset that Jewel, which had been at Howard and Western, was opening a store in Evanston and near Kedzie there, and he didn't want Chicagoans to be able to go in there because he was afraid that Jewel was going to move the store from Howard and Western, which eventually they did, but they had at that point were at least promising that store would stay open.
By the way, that was actually part of it. But the truth is, because I was actually president of the community council for West Rogers Park at the time, Northtown Community Council, where the show name comes from. The North Boundary Homeowners League, which is the strongest individual organization of individuals, which is basically Toohey to Howard and California to Kedzie, and it's still in existence today. Their president was Judy Rubin, who was a terrific lady, an elderly lady, very well spoken. He had everybody's respect. They had a meeting, and they were the ones that asked Bernie Stone for that because they didn't want the traffic flowing into Chicago. And part of the problem with Evanston is Evanston wanted to close off all the streets so traffic couldn't flow out in Evanston. All had to come back all to Chicago, and that's what started it.
Well, they worked it out, and the neighborhood is still a strong neighborhood, and the stores.
And I hate to say it, but I go shopping there all the time in Evanston. So I can't even kick into Chicago.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, the Kosher Jewel and the Best Buy and the Target.
Nice place, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I score all my drugs at Target. I'd rather go there than Devon and Bell.
I thought the new commander know that. I mean, I would.
Yeah, I've tried to tell him. I'll tell you a funny story. I used to when my pharmacy was the Costco near where Marty used to be at Toohey and Nagel.
Right, where the Leaning Tower.
Right. There's a lot of Chicago cops that live out that way because right across the street is Chicago.
Right.
and they live on the far northwest side of the city. So I happened to be in the Costco, and I saw a couple of officers from the 24th District, and they said, "What are you doing all the way out here?" I just told them, "Scoring some drugs."
Yeah. Good response. Yeah.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, well, whatever. Now we've got the 1 minute warning. So your final.
Well, my 1 minute is to encourage you to go to the forest preserves, encourage you to pay your property taxes on time on August 3rd, and make sure you have all the right exemptions, and to enjoy the rest of the summer in a safe manner. We're very fortunate. We've got so many activities going on in the parks and things. So I hope that we'll run into you at various events and continue to watch Avi here on TV, and his YouTube counts go up, up, up.
And thanks to guests like Larry Suffredin, who, true gentleman very much. By the way, I almost was able, every time you're here, I always make sure I invite Amanda Vinicky, my favorite State House reporter. And she's actually got a wedding in Springfield this weekend. That's why she couldn't make it.
Well, and she is now the Chicago Tonight Springfield correspondent, and she appears on Chicago Tonight by Skype.
Right.
Yeah. So it's very nice. I watch her, and she's really on top of it. She's a very.
She really is. She is so objective. You don't see any trace of prejudice. She is 100% objective in her reporting, and I give her all the credit. If people would like to contact you real quick.
Our office is at 820 Davis in Evanston, downtown Evanston. Karen Chavers runs the office for me there, and the phone number, the email is suffredin.org, easy to remember, and you can look us up in the phone book. It's 847-864-1209. We look forward to serving you in any way that we can.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you, Sonny. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye.